Hey vinyl community people and all my music loving friends, it's MGK Boston. That's Mike back with another video. Today is going to be a contest entry. Guy I've subscribed to for a while. His name's Robert. He's up in Ontario, Canada, where I'm originally from. He's running a contest right now. He already had a contest a while back to hit 1,000 subscribers, and he did exceed that goal. So good on you for that, Robert. I'm not one to obsess about subscribers. I really enjoy comments, but it's as I've said before, it's very unlikely that I would host a contest, but I do like entering them because the subject criteria is usually quite interesting to me for the most part, and this is no exception. So Robert's idea was basically he runs a series on his channel, bands you need to listen to or should listen to, wherein he showcases, he'll do a 15 or 20 minute segment on one particular artist. But for the purposes of this contest, Robert specified that it can't just be any band like the Doors or Led Zeppelin. He wants a unique band, so I can deliver on that. And given the fact that we're heading into the Halloween season, I thought what better band to pick for this showcase that I'm going to do today, which is a great unique band you need to listen to. It's a band I might have seen once someone show in the vinyl community, other YouTuber. I might have been myself because I had a video. One of my first videos I did around a year ago was I did a goth rock theme in the spirit of Halloween, and I think I called it Gothtoberfest. If you subscribe to my channel, it's definitely still there. You can look that up. When I showcased a bunch of goth rock artists, and this band today, it was one of those bands. In fact, this band I would argue should be the cornerstone of any goth rock collection. And yeah, look no further. It's the Sisters of Mercy. This is their debut EP. They released a series of 3 and 4 song EPs before they did their first full-length album in 1985, and I'll get to that. This was, it's just, I think, side A was Alice. I guess that might have been a single at the time, but again, it's 4 songs. There's their logo. They had their own logo. They were distributed by Warner Elektra, but they had their own independent label called Merciful Release, and of course, that's their logo right there in the center. And the release date on this one, 1983, and as you can see, a Merciful Release. Alice, Floor Show, Phantom, 1969, all those tracks are good. On this one, I'd say the highlight for me is 1969, really excellent. Year after I came into the world, 1969, in fact. So let's look on the inside. Really not much to see here. Yeah, the B-side, they would always feature their logo. And then you've got the track listing here on the A side. And as they say, on the other side, Alice and Floor Show to close out that EP. So it's a 4-song EP. Sisters of Mercy, 1983. I would call that the Alice EP. Yeah, that's what it is. The follow-up to that was the Temple of Love EP. This was released the same year in 1983. Always with the minimalist artwork, but it suits the band. If you look up any of their stuff on YouTube, they did have some videos too during the 80s that are really cool, featuring, of course, the frontman. The band was centered around frontman Andrew Eldritch, I should have mentioned earlier, and they didn't have a drummer. They had, the bass guitarist was a guy named Craig Adams. Lead guitar was Wayne Hussey. Wayne Hussey and Craig Adams later left. I'll get to that later, and formed a band called The Mission after Sisters of Mercy splintered in the mid-80s. But this is 1983, again, the same year as the Alice EP. And this features of great interest, Gimme Shelter, probably one of the best cover versions I've heard of a Rolling Stones song ever. And I'm not saying that lightly. I highly recommend it. Regardless if you're a fan of the Rolling Stones or not, they do a really killer version of that on here. And of course, they do an extended version of Temple of Love on the A side, which is also excellent. And of course, Heartland is also really good. I mean, really, these EPs were solid. There's no throwaway songs. Andrew Eldritch wrote them all. I believe he was the chief songwriter and of course, vocalist. There's the logo again, like I said before. Temple of Love, Heartland, Gimme Shelter. Yeah, just a wicked cover of Gimme Shelter. If you haven't heard it, look it up. I mean, well, you probably haven't heard it because this is supposed to be a unique band that I'm selling to you today. And it's, again, the Sisters of Mercy. All right, moving on. This is the Reptile House EP, released the following year in 1984. You can see here that silhouette. I'm not even sure you can really make it out. There's really not much to make out here. Just the purple on black and some kind of freaky looking artwork. Of course, again, on the back, it's always the same, the logo in the center. And you can see Merciful Release, and there's the catalog number right there if you were to look that up on Discogs. So Kiss, Lights, Valentine is probably my favorite track on this, and Burn is also really good. So the two highlights on this one for me, Valentine definitely, that's a slow burn, and Burn, yeah, just called Burn, is also a really excellent song. So again, this is the Reptile House EP in 1984, the release on that. All right, and their final EP, and arguably their best for me, just personal taste, it's the Body and Soul EP. Just here you can see on the front, looks like a couple of these figures here look like they could be hanging out. It looks like a swamp of zombies. You can see the heads popping up here out of the water. That's pretty freaky and pretty dark. Well, they are a goth rock band. They're not motivational speakers. So this is, again, on the back. You see there's the logo in the center. Again, the Body and Soul, really excellent. Body Electric is just a wicked track as well. Train is really good, and then they slow things down. The last track, After Hours, that's a really good one too. In the spirit of goth rock, I mean, it's just, throw it on and it just suits. It's, again, as I've said before, sometimes I'm a seasonal listener, and that's when I pull these records out, is in the fall. Things get a little colder, days get shorter, and you get near Halloween, and gets you kind of in the mood for this kind of music. But again, this was their final EP before they dove into a full-length album. And that, of course, was this one. This was released in 1985. This is First and Last and Always. You can see it's a full-length EP. There's all the tracks, of course, and this is from the CD library of yours truly. And again, down below there, you can see again, there's the Merciful Release logo, always on every album. So Black Planet, that was a single from this, and there's a really good video for that. Would have got some play on MTV, probably late at night. It was hardly top 40, so it wouldn't have been played during the day. More, as I said, this band was definitely college radio only. Certainly not a commercial success. To define commercial success, not a top 40 band, I should clarify. And then you've got some other highlights on it here. Of course, A Rock in a Hard Place, No Time to Cry, Walk Away, 919, and Some Kind of Stranger. And the title track too, First and Last and Always. I mean, this whole album is solid. This band really did things well when they did it. They did things right. And of course, I mentioned earlier the personality was a bass player, lead guitar, and Andrew Eldritch on lead vocals. They had a drum machine they called Dr. Avalanche. My friend Mike back in Ontario, he always got a kick out of Dr. Avalanche. And that's just like it would all be programmed by Eldritch himself, and that would just play in the background on loops to go along with it. It would sound like a real drummer, but it was that electronic kind of drum beat in the background. Just more for the backbeat. But yeah, Dr. Avalanche, the pretend drummer, if you will, the invisible drummer, if you will, drum machine. And there you have it. So that was their debut full-length album, and that again was released in 1985. So at that point, Wayne Hussey and Craig Adams left, and they formed The Mission. And there was another album that came out after that, right after that one, that I don't have, and the name escapes me right now. It's not really great. I think it's actually called Gift. And I heard a few tracks, and I didn't buy it at the time. I remember it was an import and it was expensive, so I skipped over. But no worries, they made a huge comeback in 1987. When I say a comeback, it was a retooling of the band, and of course it was just Eldritch. And then he'd pick up various sidemen and bring them in, and he brought in a woman named Patricia Morrison. I think she played bass guitar with a band called the Gun Club before this. And Patricia sang some backup vocals on this album. Get out of here. This is, of course, called Floodland. And, of course, there's a promo sticker. Includes lyric sheet. There's Eldritch on the front. And then you can see back there in the shadows the mythical Gothic princess that she was or is, Patricia Morrison. So, yeah, this was interestingly, I'll spit that out, produced by none other than Jim Steinman. And if you don't know who Jim Steinman is, I'll fill you in. Should have got this out earlier, but I know where it is. So here, technical difficulties here. So if you don't know who Jim Steinman is, he produced this. You know what this is for sure. It's Battered to Hell. And yeah, arranged by Jim Steinman. You can see where is it? There he is. Arranged by Jim Steinman, of course, and mixed by Todd Rundgren. I just thought that was an interesting side note. As I do, I always inject things if they're, part of the conversation that we're having, and that's what we're talking about today. It's the Sisters of Mercy and who produced this album. And of course, that was Jim Steinman. So if you're familiar with that Meatloaf album, and I'm sure you will, God, it's one of the most biggest commercial releases in my lifetime. Big theatrical sound, chorus, and all of that stuff. So this was no exception. This album, Floodland, in 1987. So it actually, on a couple of tracks, he brings in, on this Corrosion in particular, the New York Choral Society was like a choir. They're in there singing backup, so not drowning out Patricia Morrison, but big sound with Jim Steinman, like that, you know, Bad to Hell. So, but this is not Bad to Hell. But again, he brings that grandiose production to the stage here, if you will, on this album, and this is really terrific. I was in my first year of university, and this, with the alternative clubs in the city, they were always playing this, and it was, you know, for good reason. It's really excellent. And here's just it's just a promo on the inside, you know, some clips from Melody Maker, British Press. Here's a review of Floodland on the inside. And, you know, yeah, it's interesting at the time. Reader's Poll of Best Bands. You can hear, you got the Smiths, U2, The Cure, Sisters of Mercy coming in at number 4. That must have been a reader's poll from Melody Maker, which was a British music mag that I used to buy too once in a while. So on the inside, again, there's the Merciful Release logo on the center. Both sides here, nothing fancy, very minimalist. And then on the inside, you've got some credits, and then you've got the track listing. Of course, things kick off with this Corrosion, just a brilliant track, not to be missed. And Flood 2, Driven Like the Snow. And then on side 2, not to be missed, it's a double track, one into the next. It's called Dominion / Mother Russia. Look that up. You definitely won't be disappointed. But yeah, all roads lead to the dance floor with that album. That was just a really, really, a lot of great memories with that album. I never saw Sisters of Mercy in concert, but I'm certainly a big fan. And yeah, this is an original I would have bought at the time this came out. All these were originals that I bought. All those EPs I bought in high school in the 80s when they came out. I first heard these guys on a college radio station from Ottawa that I used to listen to, CKCU, late night program, of course, and that's what got me into these guys. So, guys and gal, I guess, with Patricia Morrison. So, interesting side note with Patricia Morrison. I happen to have this handy here. Again, just another little bit of trivia for you. So, Patricia Morrison over here on the side, in the late 90s, she married this guy. That's Dave Vanian. He's the lead vocalist from this band, The Damned. And perfect couple, right? Imagine being the wedding planner for those two. Be a gothic wedding. Probably got married in a cemetery at night and everybody wearing black. That would be by order of the wedding planner. We're keeping things, dress code, everybody in black, people. Very gothic affair, I'm sure it was. And they're still together. Dave Vanian, of course, and Patricia Morrison. But I didn't know a lot about Patricia Morrison, so I was just curious. This morning I looked up on Wikipedia, and yeah, I was like, oh wow, she married Dave Vanian, and I'm a big fan of The Damned. I think I've showed this album before, but again, thought that was an interesting side note, trivia, if you will. And yeah, so what else do we have here? Oh yeah, from Floodland, I thought I'd show this as well. I might as well. This is a 12-inch single for this Corrosion, and that was the big single. As far as commercial success, that's probably their biggest single to date. Definitely. And they had an album after Floodland called Vision Thing. I don't really have that. There was a couple singles on that. There's a track called Dr. Jeep. My friend Mike that I mentioned earlier, he's a bigger fan of the Vision Thing album than I am. But, you know, still, I think in some incarnation, Andrew Eldritch is out there still touring, playing smaller club shows, certainly not playing Tea in the Park or big festivals. But yeah, here he is with Patricia Morrison. That's a better photo of her right there. Nice looking goth gal she is. And there's man Andrew Eldritch. I could just picture Andrew Eldritch in the fall on a dark rainy day smoking cigarettes, looking out the window at the rain. He just looks to be that type of guy. Hates the sun. All right, again, that's the 12-inch single for this Corrosion. And finally, I just thought I'd show this. This is as a compilation that basically encapsulates all of those original EPs that I mentioned. And I bought this just because I was buying compact discs at the time, compact discs rather, in the 90s. And this was released out on this one's 92. You can see there, maybe if it's not too blurry, and there's the Merciful Release logo. And of course, all those songs I mentioned earlier, from the very beginning with Alice, and then down to the end here with Body Electric, which was, again, that Body and Soul EP with the Body Electric song, was the final EP before they released their debut, First and Last and Always, in 1985. So there you have it. This is an obscure band per Robert's instruction. Robert's on my Turntable. It's his channel. I recommend it. I've been subscribed to it for quite some time now. And if you like this goth stuff, again, if you subscribe to my channel or you don't, doesn't matter. You can still look it up under MGK Boston Vinyl Community. And there's a video I did called Gothtoberfest, kind of a rip on Oktoberfest, but featuring all bands just like this, the Sisters of Mercy and others. But yeah, again, these guys, to me, the cornerstone of that whole genre. Any collection must include the Sisters of Mercy. And if you don't know them, you know them now. I've recommended some songs. Check it out. That's what it's all about. Great recommendations on stuff you haven't heard before. So that's why I really think this contest was a good idea, showing some stuff that you don't normally see. And that's great. So anyway, Robert, hope you get a lot of people entering your contest. And look forward to hearing who the winner is. Have a great weekend, folks, and I'll see you next time.